07917, or you can send us a text or a WhatsApp message 070-317-56537. Listen live at the website www.wfm917.com. Download the mobile app to listen live from any part of the world. www.wfm917.com is the website, the mobile app, WFM917. Yes, you can download the app. Find us across all social media platforms, WFM917. Today on The Big Question, we're discussing advancing the rights of persons with Down syndrome. Now, did you know that Down syndrome is a disorder that occurs when there's a duplication of the 21st chromosome? Did you know? Now you know. And yes, Down syndrome is celebrated every March 21st. So now you see why it is celebrated every March 21st. Again, you know. So today is World Down Syndrome Day, and the theme for this year is With Us, Not For Us. On this day, we create awareness about Down syndrome, the need to promote their rights, promote inclusivity, and encourage people living with Down syndrome. In a society where we're still trying to have different conversations around inclusivity and getting everybody on board, this one is one conversation that we really need to keep having. I recall sometime last year when we had to commemorate the day, and we spoke to a parent of a child with Down syndrome, and she had to explain how people have treated her a lot of times, especially in open places, because of her daughter. And it saddens her because you would see people who you just assume that should know better. But in their reactions to this child and their relation with the child, you can tell, even for her as the mother of the child, you can tell that they don't know any better. And that's why we're having this conversation, advancing the rights of persons with Down syndrome. My guest today, I'm going to be speaking to Tola Makinde, Executive Director, Morainbow Down Syndrome Foundation. Good afternoon, Tola. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you so much. I hope you're having a good day.
Yes, so far so good.
All right. So tell us, how are you celebrating Down Syndrome Day today?
Yeah, so it's been a big week, like for people with Down syndrome and those that love and support them. And at my organization, we've had what we call the Odd Socks Walk, where we wear two different colorful pairs of socks just around, our community to raise awareness, of people with Down syndrome and on Down syndrome. And we're raising awareness because people do not understand the potentials and values people with Down syndrome can add to their community, to our world. So what we've done is to go around wearing odd socks. If you look at a pair of socks, they're chromosome shaped. And every one of us have chromosomes, like we all have 23 pairs of chromosomes in our cells, each cell of our body. And so why we do that, like globally, is to, raise awareness and then let people know that it's okay to be different. And, what we are talking about is just an extra chromosome people with Down syndrome have, and they're first human beings before, their disability. And the pair of chromosomes that our chromosomes are paired, but they have an extra pair of chromosome. And that's just what Down syndrome is. And another way we're celebrating today is to get people with Down syndrome together, babies, young adults, their parents, educators, people that love and support them, get them together. And we're having a drum circle, just, to beat drum to the rhythm of any sound and just raise awareness, pump up the volume so that people with Down syndrome can continue to be respected and, understood in our community. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Tola, and thank you for keeping the conversation on Down syndrome. Now, for you, looking at your profile and all of the things that you get to do around children, especially children with Down syndrome, how would you say it has been like relating with them and also the societal discrimination that comes with it? Because trust me, if you listen to this mother I just spoke about how she complained of how people treat her and her child in public, you can tell that this is a cause of concern for her. I want us to get to that point as a society where we see people with Down syndrome as regular people and see that they have potential in them if we invest in them properly.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And how I've been relating to people with Down syndrome is just the way I've been, relating to people normally. The only thing I know is that you have to understand that people are different. People, not everyone can be the same. And Down syndrome predisposes them to so many challenges, um, one of which is speech, apart from the medical challenges, which, is like one of which is a heart disease or different types of heart diseases which can occur. If we take away the medical concerns and then we give them the support like access to free health checks and early intervention and addressing medical issues, I think it's fair enough to say that people with Down syndrome should be allowed to live their lives normally, because they are persons first before the disability. And I'll always say that, because if you see them as persons first, you'll be able to relate to them as a human being that needs everything you and I need, as a human being that wants to be loved, that wants to belong, that wants to, have access to everything, have access and rights, just equal rights. And what do we call rights? Rights are just rights for people with disability is the same rights for people without disability. So if you look at them from that point of view, I think from that point of view, I've been able to relate to them well, understanding the differences and their differences and uniqueness. And this has helped me to see that there is a need. Every human being needs a need. And this has helped me to raise a team of, individuals that are able to profess solutions to the needs of people with Down syndrome.
All right. Thank you so much having to explain this. So, for the children, having to see that they act or their interaction with other children, how are you able to work on these children or make the children understand that there is something special about them? Because again, in our society where we live in, people would want to bully these children if they are not well taught to love themselves or build that confidence, self-esteem that they need to be able to stand whatever it is that comes to them. So how do you handle that?
I think people with Down syndrome know they have Down syndrome. They do. And they have a gap. There's a gap that they feel. There's a vacuum, they want to be filled in their lives. And because they struggle, they want to succeed, they hate to fail. That's one key thing I've noticed about them. And if you look at their development, it's slower, but doesn't mean that they cannot develop normally. It's just slower, and it's called the milestone developmental delays that they would experience because of the hallmark of Down syndrome, which is hypotonia, which means low muscle tone. So the low muscle tone would affect their ability to do different, like imagine child development, when it's time for a child to sit and walk, the child sits and everybody expects that a child that is 1 year old is already blabbing. It may not be so for someone with Down syndrome. And that's why early intervention, is very, very key to begin to help to address some of those issues that may seemingly make them, delayed, or because people already in the society have low expectations of persons with Down syndrome. And when a baby is born, the first thing you want to see is, this child is an imbecile. And then they get abused from time to time as they grow, because they feel that they cannot integrate them into the society. But what we've been trying to do over the years is to let people understand that with early intervention, people with Down syndrome can thrive in a society that accepts them, that embraces them. And then we've tried to work with families over the years as well, because we believe that when families accept their children, first, it's going to be easy for people outside the world and the world around them, neighbors, to accept their children as well. Because when I had my daughter, the stigma was really, really, there. It's still there, but it's not as much as when I had my daughter. And people had said I needed to ask God for forgiveness. I needed to, I must have done something. And that's the mentality people still have. Some people still have that, and they say, oh, I cannot have a child like this, God forbid, like as if someone prays for it. Nobody prays or shops around for disability. It just happens. Like the cause for Down syndrome itself is just an error in cell division, and then you get the extra chromosome sticking to the 21st chromosome, and then there are different types, about 3 different types of chromosomes. Down syndrome, I mean. So if you look at all those things I've spoken about, people with Down syndrome and themselves, as they grow, they realize that they're not really fitting into the environment. They realize that they're being stigmatized. They realize that they're not moving forward, but then they have a lot of interest in whatever it is the community is doing. They want to belong. They want to, they want you to try them. And I think where we failed is that we failed to give them a chance. Our community has failed to think about them, to put them in the plan when designing policies. The government has failed to, and that this is not new. This has been happening from time, and so I believe that from time it's been there, because if I had my child like 12 years ago, I should have been accepted. My child should have been integrated. There should have been support for my child from when my child was a baby. But the reverse is the case. When a child with Down syndrome is born, there is no support, there is no intervention. The government hospitals don't know what to do. They have no clue. Professionals, I'm sorry to say, pardon me, even people in the hospitals, like professionals, specialists, and they know about this condition, but sometimes they feel like they should hide it and not talk about it, or maybe say the worst case scenario. It doesn't end there. They really need to get the understanding of how to, help a parent that's just had a child, with Down syndrome, to navigate that journey. It's not like they will do everything or be able to reverse it or do something for that child, but then help the parents, the mothers, to navigate the journey. We need to have free health checks, because people with Down syndrome know they've got something about them. They know it, and that is why sometimes they may react in an environment where there's no love. They may react, but guess what? They are multi-talented. I have been so inspired the past 12 years of my life. You can't believe how inspired I've been. And they have potentials. If we continue this conversation, like for the rest of the year, we will not be able to finish it, because what I want to say is people with Down syndrome making decisions for themselves. I want to say the same rights that everyone can exercise when you go to court. People with Down syndrome are being abused, molested, mistreated, raped, and the matter goes under the carpet. It's not addressed because they feel people with Down syndrome don't have the right to go to court, don't have the right. They have equal rights. What do we mean by equal rights? Equal rights simply means equal rights. Equal privileges. They are human beings. I don't know how to say this again. Honestly, I don't know how to express myself again. But if we just imagine that, first of all, they are human beings, I guess the world will be a better place. We will treat them better. There was a time I walked up to an eatery and I wanted a teenager with Down syndrome. I was trying to, help to empower, and we taught him. He knows so many to do so many things, but because he has a speech impediment, and you would not really get there's no speech clarity. That's what I mean. And that is very common with children with Down syndrome. I just wanted him to be a greeter. Just a greeter at the door when people come in, and they told me, "Oh, that's going to drive our customers away. We can't have an imbecile at the door just to be a greeter." As I speak right now, we've been able to work with him in the past 8 years, and we're actually going to give him employment in my organization. I think that is the way to go, because we've tried to work with other organizations and, to make them believe that people with Down syndrome see themselves as human beings as well. And that has not really worked for people with Down syndrome. But I believe as we continue this conversation, like every year, and even as we do what we do daily, people with Down syndrome will begin to get, more valued in our community.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tola. Thank you for all that you do. And truly, it still goes back to perception of people with Down syndrome in our society. Like what you mentioned about the organization, the brand refusing for this young lad to work there. saying that it's going to chase their customers away. It's just because a lot of people still don't understand it. You can imagine, based off of what you said, if medical practitioners who know about this condition, or who we expect should know about this condition. Now, it is one thing to know about something. It is another thing to know how to handle it. A lot of people get to bring their biases and unconscious mindset to work. So it might just be a thing of, oh, please, let me just attend to another patient first. I'll come back to that. Might not necessarily be a thing of them not knowing how to handle the child. But have you ever had to experience such, and how did you handle it? Because I feel like at that point, you might want to call out the medical practitioner to say, no, you are in the medical line and you should know better about this.
Well, to answer your question, I'm really sorry to say this, but I just need to say this because I've watched so many babies with Down syndrome die, like a needless death for no reason. And because I'd mentioned that the major challenge sometimes is heart disease. So when a baby with Down syndrome is born, you want to make sure that the baby has a healthy heart. My daughter has a device in her heart. She's had it since she was 8 months old. So many other children will need to go through heart surgery. So many have different complications. When you get to the hospital, and this happens a lot, and the child has Down syndrome, you hear doctors and nurses. So doctors may be like, oh, that child has Down syndrome. So, and the nurses, it's even worse. I'm not even going to mention the hospital right now because I'm not going to mention, because right now I'm so emotional that I'm remembering those babies, and one was a government hospital. And to me, I think the children were out of those children were left to die. Because it was like already like a hopeless situation. And the mother of this child was communicating with me, telling me that I've taken this child to the hospital you recommended. And the nurse said something like, I go make this pikin no go die. I'm so sorry for everybody listening that don't understand what I've just said. But the nurse was like, she doesn't even want this baby to die because these babies are the babies that may not live, that may not be able to make it. So already there's a judgment that this child with Down syndrome may die when they have every chance to live. And it's not like they don't know, they know, but they need, I think what we need to do more with medical professionals is to continue to educate them, because they may forget that their work is to save lives, really, not lives of those without Down syndrome, everybody's lives. They may just forget. And when these things happen, and like I was talking about free health checks, we don't have free health checks. A child with Down syndrome would need to do checks, have to do regular yearly checks to check their heart condition, to check their thyroid. Some of them have hearing problems, visual problems. Where are we going to start from if we don't have free health checks? There is a chance to, to elongate their lives. We have a chance to keep them alive. But are we really, really, ready for that? Are we providing all of this medical, what's it called, that they would need? Are hospitals really ready? If you take a sick child to a hospital near you, they will tell you, we don't treat this type of child. They will tell you, we don't treat this type of children. That is just the norm. And that's why I and my comrades are advocating for people with Down syndrome. Parents are not happy about this. It's been ongoing for years and years, and these children are just living with this ailment or whatever it is that can be treated, because Down syndrome itself is not a disease, but then it predisposes them to different types of medical conditions that can be arrested and addressed with proper medical checks, proper medical intervention, early intervention. I don't know if I was able to answer your question.
I get it. Thank you so much, Tala. Really, really, really thinking about it, your daughter's case, and having to draw strength from that to be able to help other children. I really hope we get to that point. But we'll keep talking, like you've mentioned. We'll keep talking about it. All right. Yes, in case you're just joining us, it is 24 minutes past 12 on Your Women Radio, WFM 91.7. And this is The Big Question. On The Big Question, we discuss issues affecting us as a nation and as citizens, and we get a profile solution. As you see, anything that affects one affects all, because it might just be you tomorrow. So never turn a blind eye to any case around you, trust me. Because you might just feel, oh, it's not me, it doesn't have anything to do with me. You might just have somebody who falls into this category. And if you don't speak up for people who cannot speak up for themselves, then what exactly? Why do you have a voice? Why do you have a voice if you would not lend the voice to positive cause to cause change in your society? My name is Esther Alaribi, and my guest this afternoon is Tola Makinde, Executive Director, More Rainbow Down Syndrome Foundation, and we're discussing advancing the rights of persons with Down syndrome. And we're having to look at different angles to it. The part where medical practitioners need to do better, we as a society, we need to do better. The part of the government also making sure that these people, they're being integrated into the society well in different sectors. So we're not leaving them out, because we get to talk about marginalizing people a lot of times, but we forget. When you make provisions, you forget that there are people who you need to slow down for a bit to ensure that you carry them along. We still have a lot of work to do, trust me. We do have a lot to do, but we'll keep talking and to make sure that we get to that point where everybody is recognized, regardless of any condition or anything that makes you feel like they are different from you. So for the parents, Tola, what advice will you give to parents who have children or a child with Down syndrome? Because it can be overwhelming sometimes, and in a society where you have to pay for everything. Imagine a low-income family, they don't have all of the funds to pay for all of the checkups and everything that comes with the child, and you're probably just there. You go to the rural communities, a lot of advocacy or awareness around Down syndrome is not known, and they probably just treat the child like something. I recall there was one report of a child that was being taken to a witch doctor, and this child was treated badly and all. Apparently this child had Down syndrome, and they just could not understand why the child was different from the other children. So you can imagine.
Yeah, well, I'll just, I've been working with parents, families, in the past 9 years. I think the work we do at More Rainbow as kind of like, is kind of eye-opening, and a lot of parents have embraced their children. I'm so happy about that. There's a Down syndrome WhatsApp group as well for parents where, we just try to leverage on each other's strength and encourage each other, and, and where we tell ourselves that our children need education. So I'm going to tell parents out there that your child needs education. Your child needs early intervention. Your child needs to be empowered. You don't have to look at that disability. Even as parents, don't look at what your child cannot do. Look at what your child can do. Your child needs services that can improve his or her quality of life. And the world needs to see this. And it behoves on you as a mom, as a dad, to showcase your child and to help your child, support your child. Yeah, talking about people from low-income families. I've been working with, my organization has been working with people from low-income families since 2014. And so far, so good. I've been able to see improvements. The only thing is we need funding. I know parents will cry, oh, there's no money. That is it for everybody, even for the organization. And that's why we need people that can, really from their hearts, organizations that can partner with this cause, with an organization like ours, because early intervention is working with that child from birth. It's not a joke. It's not cheap, because you have to check. Some children with Down syndrome from low-income homes, I tell you for free, ordinary blood test, which costs like 4,000 naira or 2,000 naira, they cannot do it. Urine test, they can't do it. They can afford it because they are not done with affording a meal a day. I'm even saying to square a meal a day. And there are other kids they've got, not only that child with Down syndrome. You see, so we've been providing free education for those from, from low-income families, but we need people that can support this, because the child needs to check for cataracts, the child needs to check for blocked tear duct, strabismus, nystagmus. These are visual acuity problems that people with Down syndrome, babies with Down syndrome, may develop or may be born with or may have. Even from 6 months, you're checking all of this. Not to talk of heart diseases, dental, diabetes. How many are we going to talk about? Sleep apnea. Most of them have sleep problems. And if they cannot perform very well in school the next day, it's probably because they've had a bad sleep. And those imagine if you don't sleep well, and sleep apnea is not very good. So they are very prone to sleep apnea. ENT problems. orthopedic problems, neck instability. So are we going to write them off or write them out? They belong here. We all cannot be perfect. Nobody is even perfect. The world is not even a perfect place. So I believe they belong here, and I believe that parents should embrace their children while we continue to raise the bar for people with Down syndrome, empower them, let the world see and value them, because they themselves want to give. They've got a lot to give. There's a lot to give. There's a lot they have to give. Trust me. If I say this, I'm saying with every nerve and muscle in my body. They have a lot to give. Can they just be given the chance?
All right. Thank you so much, Tola. So, looking at everything that we've discussed today, what would be your final words? Your final words to medical practitioners, to the government. You've spoken to parents who have children with Down syndrome and to persons with Down syndrome as well, because they also need a constant reminder that they can do everything and more that they set out to achieve, regardless of the noise going on from the society.
Yeah, for medical practitioners, I'm not degrading anyone. I'm only saying that I think they need to get more training on how to work. When you read this, when you go to classroom, you read these things, you attend a lecture, but when you see the reality, like you see the child, you may just take a flight. Like I've seen it happen before, even in schools, when they say teachers should, teacher, you have this teacher, okay, this school maybe says I can take this child that has disability and help the child. When they say the teacher will take a flight. Because it is different from reading textbooks. Working with people with Down syndrome or supporting them is different from what you read in textbooks. Because each child with Down syndrome is different.
So let me pause your thoughts for a bit. We have a call coming in. Let's see. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. Oh, I really would have loved to hear what that person had to say. Maybe they had a question for you. All right, Tala.
So I was saying that each child with Down syndrome is different. So when you have a child with Down syndrome in your hospital, don't say, I know how to treat children with Down syndrome. Each child is different. When you have a child with Down syndrome in your school, don't say, I understand it. That child is different. That child may have struggled with breathing, may have enlarged adenoids, and may not be able to function in your classroom. You must understand this. So I think schools should reach out to be trained, to train their teachers. Doctors, hospitals government should train their teachers. Governments should train their medical
practitioners,
specialists, their professionals, their staff. I think that would take us very far. Do we really have social workers that can work with those children? They need to be trained. Because you can't say Down syndrome disability. I understand it. I can, because I've treated a child with autism. A child with Down syndrome may have autism, which is called the dual diagnosis. So a child with Down syndrome would have another condition, in addition to Down syndrome. So you can't assume you can handle this. But when you see people, a parent will tell you everything about the child, because the parent is the one that lives with the child. I think it's time for the government also to involve people with Down syndrome to be part of their policy design. They can speak. They know what they want. There are ways we communicate with them. Yeah, it may be different, they need easy to understand communication, like the way you want to communicate to them, like using a picture, but they know what they want. They know what is good. If you point that you want to take them to the eatery or tell them to go to the farm, they will choose a better life. They will want to go and enjoy in the eatery or go for a party. Yeah. It doesn't mean they will not work on the farm. It doesn't mean they won't go to work. It doesn't mean they can't do these things. They need support, education, empowerment. They need social care, services that can improve their abilities and their quality of life. And these services are everywhere, like hospitals, getting medication on time, getting medical intervention on time to address problems that that maybe we don't know if it's coming up or something. It's like a check, just a medical check.
All right. Thank you so much, Tola. Thank you so much for being on the show today and for lending your voice to the cause. Thank you so much.
I wanted to mention about language as well, and
Okay.
that's very common in hospitals, where they say that child, that child, yes, imbecile or that child. It's bad. They are not that child. Down syndrome is just a part of them. It's a part of who they are. It's not their total being. Because you think someone with Down syndrome does not hear you, and you are saying that you're talking about the person. How does that feel? I know a lot of people will listen to this today and probably get more educated.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tola. Do have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you, Esther.
All right. Yes, you've heard it from Tola Makinde, Executive Director of Mo Rainbow Down Syndrome Foundation. There is a whole lot that we need to do better as a society, and the government also needs to look into this, because there is no point leaving some people behind and making laws for some people without necessarily considering the needs of people in the society totally. Again, use of language. You cannot speak to somebody and you're looking at the person in the eye and say, yes, that child, you over there. You're already making the person feel a certain way with your words before you even act on it. Parents with children with Down syndrome, we're sending you warm hugs. We're sending you love and light. We wish that you have more strength to further protect these children and give them all that they deserve to maximize their potential. And people in the society also, try as much as possible. Those unsolicited advice that you want to give when you see them, don't do it. Don't do it. So you need to always ensure that in whatever it is you do, you think of your own self as the other person you're going to be speaking to. How would you feel if you are being treated this way? My name is Esther Laribi, and this has been The Big Question on Women Radio 91.7. Thanks to Amara Chuku for the support and to the executive producer, Tomoke Wale Shonaya. Thank you. The Big Question will be back on tomorrow at 5 minutes past 9, 5 minutes past 12, as we get to discuss issues affecting us as a nation and as citizens, and we get to profile solutions. Good afternoon.
To sponsor this program, call the number 0816 480 7613.
New Women Radio 91